welcome back to another Browns recap. First off, I want to wish everyone, if whoever participates in Christmas festivities, hopefully everyone had a good Christmas Eve and a good Christmas, and hopefully everyone watching was able to enjoy all the holiday season stuff that happens around this time of year. It's not over yet. There is still the new year to get to, but whatever you celebrate around this time of year, hopefully it was a good time with yourself and maybe your family as well. But what made my holiday season certainly a little bit better was the Browns getting a win in Houston over the Texans. Final score of 36-22, and that final score actually is a little bit more generous to the Texans and how the game actually felt, because it was 36-7 in the fourth quarter, with their offense not really getting on the board until garbage time, with that 7 points being a result of a kick return for a touchdown. And it was a game that I was a little bit nervous to watch for the Browns heading in, even with the news of CJ Stroud still having to miss time due to a concussion, mostly just because I saw Case Keenum lead that Texans team to a comeback victory the week before. Even though it was over the lowly Tennessee Titans, it was still a comeback victory in the NFL nonetheless. But a lot of those fears were eased just after the first offensive play for Cleveland, where Joe Flacco hit Amari Cooper deep on a play-action bomb, which set up Cleveland at the 5-yard line. Jerome Ford finishing it off on the Wildcat, which, with Joe Flacco in there, I'm not crazy about running the Wildcat because you essentially make it a 10-on-11. I know they ran the Wildcat with DTR in there as well, but just not crazy about the Wildcat. It just seemed like it was something to try to get the run game going, but it did result in one play going for a touchdown. Now, the defense for the Browns, when the starting unit was out there for the majority of the game, they had themselves a huge day defensively. You had Duron Harmon getting an interception. That was fun to see. Zadarius Smith with a couple of sacks, had another one that was called back for defensive holding. He was getting in the backfield quite a lot in this one. JOK flying out there once again. He's a tackle for loss machine. You had Emerson dealing with some penalty issues early on in the game, some of them more valid than others, but Emerson having a bit of a rough time to start the game, but that got obviously that calmed down once the game was going on a little bit more. But when the depth got in near the end of the game and Houston put in Davis Mills once the game was kind of already decided, that's when things got a little bit iffy for the defense. Maybe it was just the garbage time effect, but Davis Mills looked a lot better than Case Keenum did running the offense. And again, maybe that was just because the defensive starters weren't necessarily in, where Davis Mills and that Houston offense put together two really quick touchdown drives, one of them coming after a converted onside kick, and more on the special teams for a little further in the video. But the defense, when the starters were out there and when the game was still kind of up in the air and in question, they did what they had to do, and they didn't really break until it was already garbage time and the game was pretty much already wrapped up. Offensively, the Browns could not have asked for much of a better day for the offensive side of the ball. The first play that I mentioned, deep throw to Amari Cooper, that would become a theme, as Amari Cooper would have a record-setting day in a Browns uniform, 265 yards, becoming the franchise record for a Browns player, 11 receptions and two receiving touchdowns, but he also became the first Browns player to ever achieve back-to-back 1,000 receiving yard seasons, which seems like a fake stat, right? Like, not just since they came back in 1999, but ever. That seems like a bit of a ridiculous stat, but that is true. You can go back and look through the record books. No Browns receiver has ever had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in a Cleveland Browns uniform. So congratulations to Amari Cooper for setting not one but two franchise-setting records in that game against Houston. If you would have told me that Amari Cooper would have had these kinds of games lately, and that David Njoku would have finally taken that next step under this big new contract he has, I would have assumed that it meant that Deshaun Watson was balling out with his team. But you throw in a surprise Joe Flacco resurgence, I guess you could call it, and we have the perfect encapsulation of just the bizarro world that this NFL season has been in, really ever since the 2023 season started getting underway. Joe Flacco was great again. His two interceptions weren't really that bad. One of them was kind of a heat check where he had a deep throw that the defender read pretty well, and the other one was just an end of the half desperation throw when their kicker was out, when Dustin Hopkins went out with injury. Amari Cooper was just cooking the secondary all game. And the Texans secondary had some injury issues. Texans pass rush also hurt as well, which did help out the Browns. Also hurt offensive line, so a couple of injured units going at it there. Njoku, for his part, he caught another touchdown. Just a good catch off of a perfect timing throw to the right location from Joe Flacco. Him and Njoku having chemistry. Now him and Cooper forming a great connection as well. Those are a couple dangerous weapons for Cleveland in the passing game. And all of his huge output came without really much of a threat in the running game. The Browns' rushing attack not really able to get going in this one. Thankfully didn't need to, obviously, but that could be a concern for the Browns moving forward, is trying to get the running game up and going and not necessarily being stuck in the mud whenever you hand the ball off to one of your running backs. They did try some things to make it work, like the Wildcat, where maybe trying to throw the defense off guard a little bit, multiple looks at certain draw plays, but nothing really sparked the ground game against Houston. That's one concern that you can have about the offense moving forward. And the offense putting up that kind of game with the defense being its usual dominant self, that's pretty much a really good recipe for success for the Browns, no matter how you get that production. But there is one question about the special teams, and that is, who is kicking the balls? We have some answers with some of the moves the Browns have made recently, but the Browns left the game on Sunday with both their punter and their kicker dealing with injury. The special teams unit also gave up a kick return for a touchdown, as I mentioned, and they also did fail to recover one of the onside kicks that Houston attempted, which is a little bit embarrassing considering that the NFL made it even harder to recover onside kicks this year. The fact that the Browns gave one up to the Texans, not necessarily a good look, was not a good day for Bubba Ventrone's unit. So Dustin Hopkins, their place kicker, who has been amazing for the Browns this year, he is considered week to week with a hamstring injury. Cleveland has signed former Lions kicker Riley Patterson to the practice squad. Dustin Hopkins' injury was suffered on that kick return for a touchdown while he was trying to chase down Pierce. Obviously wasn't able to catch up to him in time. Stefanski was asked if he'd be back for the playoffs, and Stefanski just kind of said that he didn't know week to week. All right, then, I guess the way that the Browns season has gone with injuries, I'm just going to prepare for him not being available for at least the start of the postseason. If the Browns do make it, there is still a chance that the Browns don't make it, but that's way more not likely than likely at this point. Corey Bojorquez also left the game dealing with a quad injury that led to safety DeAnthony Bell taking kickoffs, which was kind of funny to see. For punting, the Browns have signed punter Matt Hawk to the practice squad. Hasn't punted this season. He's done some work for the Colts last year, I believe, but Bojorquez hasn't been ruled out for Thursday as of yet, but that signing does seem to indicate that they are preparing for him to not play on Thursday. And also because, of course, why not? Backup quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, he has been placed on the IR after suffering a hip injury in garbage time when he got some reps at quarterback. He got sacked a couple of times on one of those. I guess he injured his hip enough to be placed on IR. PJ Walker has been signed to the active roster to compensate. He'll take over the backup position, and I have to imagine they'll sign another quarterback to the practice squad soon, just so they can have 3 quarterbacks on the roster ready to go. But regardless of the new special teams and backup quarterback injuries, they do have a Jets team to take on for Thursday Night Football. Seems like a really good opportunity for them to clinch that playoff spot once and for all, not have to worry about any other results going their way. Browns are in a win and they're in scenario. So the Browns should definitely be up and ready for that game. It's been mostly good results against the Jets in night games. I feel like every year the Browns are playing the Jets in some kind of non-Sunday night game. It's been Thursday Night Football a couple years. Sometimes it's been Monday Night Football. Either way, the Browns seem to come on top one way or another in those kind of games. So they'll have to keep that trend up in order to make sure they clinch a playoff spot with Zach Wilson. I know the Jets are dealing with some injuries themselves, but I believe Zach Wilson is not going to be going again. It'll be Trevor Siemian being the quarterback for the Jets. So if the Browns should be able to get that done, even with a couple new injuries for the Browns squad. That should be a game that they're up and ready for, and they should be able to be talking about postseason matchups after Thursday Night Football. But they still have to play the game, so to get that game done. Certainly can't be taking any NFL opponent lightly this season, and that's going to do it for me in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you didn't make it this far into it, even with the less than ideal lighting situation right now, but that'll be rectified in a couple of days. But once again, thank you for watching. Made it this far. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and you'd like to see more like it. I cover some more teams in Ohio. Maybe like those videos as well. But once again, thank you for watching. I will see you at the next one.